governance.
Okay, so I'm Sanjeev. I'm one of the board members at Africa Finance Corporation, and I also have certain executive responsibilities. So I look after the entire funding, debt syndication, advisory, and country investor relationship side of the business, which basically means that I principally manage AFC's entire funding requirements and relationships with the wider stakeholders across not only in Africa but globally. AFC itself is a very successful and interesting organization. It was only created 15 years back, but as we speak today, it has become Africa's largest infrastructure financing company. We have invested across 36 countries today. We have 37 member countries. The total balance sheet currently is in excess of $10 billion. More importantly, I think the key factors that one must remember when one talks about AFC is that it has successfully proven, and this is a very important word, that it's successfully proven that it is possible to develop and finance industrial infrastructure mining projects on the continent on a commercially viable basis, because there's always been a lot of skepticism around that. So we've proven that through our own track record, and as a result of that, we enjoy a lot of support from not only African governments and African private sector, but from global governments and global private sector, who see us therefore as a platform through which they can invest in Africa. And I think the markets don't lie, so our success, second best rating on the continent after the African Development Bank, and that just tells you that it's not just what we say, but globally we have received the recognition that matters, because through that rating we get access to capital markets.
Thank you. What do you feel needs to be accomplished to rebuild economies across Africa and to develop future long-term sustainability?
Yeah, I know it's a question I get asked often, and I kind of use the word that the word is not reboot, the word is to continue, because global events keep happening, and to a very large extent, be it the Ukraine war today, or be it the global financial crisis that we've had in the past, or be it even the climate agenda as it's being narrated and developed, affects Africa disproportionately. Right? It affects Africa disproportionately because it restrains people from making decisions on Africa. It raises the cost of capital for Africa, and very often it reduces the flow of capital to Africa. So that's why, because we live and operate in Africa, and as I would say that we have no other business than the business of Africa, for us this global mood swings, as I call it, or global volatility as it translates into, doesn't really bother us, because it cannot bother us, because if we allowed it to bother us, we would stop doing what we are doing. So for us, it's about the coalition of the willing, that there is so much need on the continent from an infrastructure development point of view, from an energy development point of view, from creating jobs point of view, which means industrializing the continent, that there is so much to do, and there is still capital available. It's not like capital has completely dried up, that we don't worry about the criticisms or the hesitancies we get. We want to operate with the people who want to work. Which just shows that if you stick to your strategy, what is our strategy? Our strategy is very simple. People say we develop infrastructure, we invest in this and that. No, our core is risk management. We say that Africa has opportunities, but it has risks. But if we do not develop those opportunities, the risk is only going to get higher, not lower, right? So if we can manage the risk and develop projects that are bankable, that ultimately find favor with investors, over time we reduce risk. And that's essentially our mission, that develop Africa to de-risk Africa. And if you de-risk Africa, capital will come to Africa. So it becomes a virtuous cycle.
So true. So true. And why are events like pension funds and alternative investments Africa so important for the sharing of industry knowledge and expertise?
It is because, one of the things that I kind of said yesterday in my opening remarks is that charity begins at home, right? And I think as Africans, we need to understand that we must stop this idea that there is something wrong with us and we need help from people. We have capital, we just don't deploy it for our own good, right? We have skills, but those skills disappear, right? We have the political will, which doesn't translate into projects because not enough people are taking the trouble to translate policies into projects by creating the initiatives that they need to. So it's up to us to look within, right? And please understand, when I say this, I'm not just trying to indulge in a rhetoric. Think of it this way, that how would it be if we could just say that we are no longer the problem in the world, we are actually the solutions provider. Why? Because 70% of the world's arable land is in Africa. So we could be the food basket for the world. Energy. The world needs energy. We have so much gas, so much oil, so much coal. Why aren't we developing it for the world's good? Third, the climate agenda. We are the region where most of the world's forests are, which is absorbing the world's pollution, which we didn't create, by the way. The world created. Fourth, where is the battery minerals going to come from for you to have the batteries to conserve renewable energy? Africa. So I think the narrative has to change. The narrative has to be, we are not the problem, we are actually the solution. You have the money, we have the resources, let's do business together. And that's why these conversations in these forums are critical, because it brings together people who control Africa's capital. Remember, the biggest source of Africa's capital is the central banks and the pension funds. And it is the opportunity that these conferences provide to have these conversations. It's not about, give me your money and I'll make money for you. That's a very simple conversation. As you know, change only happens when there's a greater purpose. And it's the greater purpose that we need to discuss. But what is the greater purpose? The greater purpose is there's 2 billion people who needs to be fed, educated, housed, employed. The greater purpose, as opposed to what is not in our control. And what is in our control is our money, our skills, our patience, our ability to understand our risks and make things change. And that's what we need to focus on.
Awesome. And what was the outcome being a sponsor and speaker at PIE Africa 2022?
No, got a lot of congratulations for everybody. No, it's when you say a sponsor, I kind of hesitate.